think it's just us. Does anybody want to discuss anything, or should we
No,
about
this is really
reactions?
helpful. It's kind of head spinning type, the extent and the depth of, you think in the beginning we're talking green and we're thinking, oh yeah, they're going to make it, good building materials, they're going to make it energy efficient. But it's just amazing how this has developed, and this is really sounds like it's becoming a gold standard now.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it so inspirational that there's so much more that you can do other than just the generic energy efficiency standards. And that's why it's really important to, I think, find somebody who's had that level of experience before and has done something high performing, to partner with us on the project. I think trying to, push from the back end and get somebody who's maybe not proficient in that area could really be a slog rather than having somebody lead us.
Yeah, we really need somebody to lead. We're all, I mean, at least I'm not talking about yourself, but I think the rest of us from Lake County United, this is all new to us. So we really need somebody that can take the lead and can really has done this before.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We don't want a huge we're going to have a learning curve. We can't have the developer have a learning curve too. I'll be
Totally.
honest with you.
Yeah.
But the one thing that keeps running around in my head is, okay, so cost. So what's the difference between a lead platinum and a living building certification, and what are the differences? And I'm sure we'll eventually get into the weeds on that, but I keep on thinking, well, I know that lead platinum is much more expensive than lead gold, right? And how does that going to eventually fit in? But it's just,
I mean, I would think it would depend on what grants you can use with that, what grants and how sustainable in the long run. I mean, it may be more expensive in the beginning, but in a 20-year plan, it may be paying for itself already.
right, what the payoff
And I
is,
think
yeah.
that, I think that's I don't have that expertise, but I think people like Patty and people on her team would have that kind of expertise to be able to predict,
And
the
even though
overall
I
cost.
would also imagine that it's more expensive to do it, but probably that differential between a non-energy efficient or sustainable housing and sustainable housing over the years is going down, and eventually we'll get even closer. So when this is done in 15 years, who knows? Yeah.
Oh,
I had a
man.
question. So like, if we supposedly hire these group of people, would be able to have opportunity to have work with multiple builders? The one leading the green efficiency or other builder is actually doing the, construction and things like that based on their lead, or is that one company will do the entire project?
So from what I understand, and this is still getting to be a new world for me, but that the developer and the architect may be different firms, but that they work together in collaboration. And if you're centered in one, a lot of times, the developer might have preferred architects that they can recommend that they have relationships with. So I think what they were suggesting is that they have multiple different firms that they work with in relationship, and some of them are, have specific high performing projects she was pointing to. Does that sound right?
Excuse my ignorance. Are they developer? Is Leo Pardo a developer? Are they a general contractor?
Like they were more like a
Are they
general
design
contractor.
consultant? I mean, what would they call themselves?
It's a good question. From my understanding, I thought that they were developers and that they contracted with like these other groups, so they would pull together a team.
So they're like a
and
general
find the funding.
contractor and a developer. They would farm out all the other construction parts, and
as far as I understand, although that was definitely something we'd want to know from them as we move forward. Yeah.
interesting. It's interesting that they haven't done a lot of multi level or campus work. They have done some, but it sounds like they do like big projects. Obviously McDonald's project's probably a $10 billion project in the end or something like that. That's a huge piece of property.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that we'd have to take into consideration, I'm guessing, is would we want to work with a Leopardo who does, 100 million to $1 billion construction, or we want to work with a firm that specializes in, 5 million to $100 million. So, there's a difference in dealing with those kinds of companies too.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing is, are we going to have the same people doing both the Waukegan and the Libertyville project?
Doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't sound like it, but wouldn't there be some advantages to doing that? I don't know.
Well, they only wanted to talk about Libertyville because we already are working with the Brewer. So they weren't interested in talking about Waukegan.
Mm.
And as far as I understand, that has already been firmed up. It's not that they're considering DeBruler for Waukegan, it's that they're definitely going with DeBruler for Waukegan. And so any developer that we talk to would probably be pretty hesitant to discuss anything about Waukegan, because that would just be unprofessional for them.
And a waste of their time.
Yeah.
They're a waste of their time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
who
my
was Dave,
sense.
sorry,
Oh no, go ahead.
was Dave Wilms at the end? Who was that person that HR leader on?
I wasn't on the meeting with him, so I was kind of like, kind of taken aback too. I wasn't quite sure who he was either, but
Yeah, he kind of came in on the end and he added his 2 cents. Dave is somebody that we talked to. So Sharon Stein had a connection with a guy named Jay Futterman, who is, and Catherine, you talked with Jay Futterman,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's an environmentalist. He does a lot of work, I know, with Sierra Club locally. And Jay suggested that we talk to Dave Wilms, who's a Libertyville resident and has been involved with sustainability and environmentalism for 30 or 40 years. He's taught it. He has a business involved with it. And so Catherine, I, and who else was on that? This Sharon Stein talked
Sharon.
with Dave. And he's all about the environment, and he's got a lot of expertise, and he really cares about Libertyville. He only lives a couple of blocks from Winchester House, and he offered to work with us on the team.
right.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying something, Catherine.
Oh, so I am. So we were talking about developers and who would be familiar with like whether or not we should use the same ones for the same sites. And my sense, and I haven't been able to talk to DeBruler, is that they may not be as experienced in this type of building. And so it could be beneficial to use different developers for different sites, depending. Now, if they're willing to adapt and change that, and they want to do both sites and they want to gain that kind of accreditation, then that's great. But I don't know if that's going to be the case or not.
As
And-
Leopardo suggested, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was going to change topics, so please.
No, I was just going to say, as they suggested, we probably don't want to go with somebody who's going to be just, learning about it. We want to go with somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, except that if we are committed already in Waukegan, I think that we want to make that as sustainable and as green as possible. And I think we also financially have to pursue any type of, financial advantage that gives us. So I think we have to probably do that research. When we talked to Condell, they were very much more interested in Waukegan than they were Libertyville, which was interesting to me. And they were talking about, having some kind of a partnership with, medical clinic on campus. And they also talked about, projects that they've had with the green gardens and things like that, and almost like a sustainable farm on the project so that people can grow their own vegetables. I mean, there's a lot of things to be done before that shovel starts digging on both of these projects, I would think.
Interestingly, Catherine and I were just on a call with Dan Didich's team to talk about seeing how he could help get dollars for the Waukegan project. He wasn't on the call, but his 2 aides were. And he is the co-chair of the Illinois Environmental Committee in Congress, in the House. And he's all over the environment. So I'm sure that if we bring in the environmental and sustainability aspect into Waukegan, he will work his rear end off to try to get us money. And I told Amy that before the meeting, but I'm glad that she heard it from them. And I think that that could be a huge impetus for him to be working with us on any project that we're dealing with.
I
Yeah.
have been told that there are opportunities for getting consultants who would work alongside the developer to try to get them up to speed for accreditation. So if we had extra money because Dittich is really interested in this component, that might be one way to get there, is to hire a consultant who would help them improve their own skills in green building. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a topic that unfortunately I won't be at the steering meeting tomorrow because I have a family commitment, but something that, maybe Art, you can bring up, or something that, we're kind of going off and we're kind of parallel, but kind of divergent projects in Waukegan and Libertyville. But I think there's still a lot of the same core values that we want in both projects. And I think that we could use some of the same expertise and share the information that each of the teams is gaining for their own campus with each other too. If not even, having the same consultants for the same two projects too. I think that people are assuming that DeBuhler is going to do Libertyville too, and maybe he is, I don't know. But I think there's a lot of groundwork, especially with this sustainability and this environmentally green certification that we need to do before we really start, digging. I mean, this was very exciting. This was very interesting, but it was very almost mind-boggling to me at the extent that this goes into. And I would hate to start Waukegan and be halfway through it and say, well, wait a minute, this isn't what we want. We're not really sure. We want this to be greener. We want this to be more sustainable. What about, partnering with ComEd? What are we about this? What about that? So I think there's I guess my point is that there are some similar issues that we need to, I would hate to have a Libertyville team and a Waukegan team, and they'd be both with two different visions for both campuses. It couldn't be shared too. I don't know. That's just my point.
Definitely take advantage. We should take advantage of any synergies that we could possibly.
Absolutely. And I think the project just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're going to have to start, we're researching and we're talking to people now, but we're going to have to really start digging in and figuring out and find, this was great, Catherine. This was really the kind of things that we need to do. We need to find people that do this, and they do this every day, and saying, hey, well, these are great ideas, but this is how you do this. This was very, very helpful. This was very exciting. It was very energizing, but it also makes it very big too.
It's another important aspect that we that we didn't. It's going to get bigger too. So
well, I think it's more than an aspect. I think this is integral to the whole project, both projects, and I think we have to. This is not like a sidebar. This has to be integrated into both projects, and that's. And I guess the first thing would be if I was on the Waukegan team, or I was, I would say, we need, if DeBuhler's the man, we need to sit down with him and talk to him about this, and how do we do this, and how does he do it, and how do
Catherine's trying.
Amen.
No, I'm not saying that anybody else. I'm not saying you should do it, Catherine, but I'm saying that this is what we need to do as an organization.
I totally agree.
We have to stop being, we're all in tangential mode, and we all have to be kind of integrating now.
You're right. We could talk about this during committee. I know that Catherine's been trying to get information from Amy and on DeBuhler and set up a meeting, and for whatever reason it hasn't happened yet, but we need to keep pushing that.
Yeah.
And who's the core team that's going to integrate both of these projects? Is it Amy, Danita? Who's going to make sure that some core group has to know all the knowledge from both projects. So that, like you said, we're not, we're not missing opportunities that we can share that information.
Yeah. Well, right now it's Amy.
Right, I know.
And I don't know how much Danita is getting involved with Waukegan, although now that Lali's not around,
Mhm.
nobody's taken her place. So my guess is he kind of sits on the sideline. So I don't know how much Carl King knows about this stuff. I don't think he's really that much involved with Liberty.
Yeah, I don't know. He's like, he and I are working on some of the stuff for the CSUs, but he's doing, because they're trying to develop them in DuPage right now. So I don't know I don't know that he's going to be really a driving force for this Waukegan project.
I don't think he is. Yeah, I think it's probably Amy and Danita. Those are the two people who know most about both.
Do we need
Or they
like
should, anyway.
another resource just focused on these development stuff, maybe?
Yeah,
Like,
actually,
temporary resource.
so there's another developer that I've been talking to, or Patty actually mentioned Doug Farr from Farr Associates, and they're the ones who did the Granite City green community, and it's that more kind of what we were looking at, like townhouses, mixed development, walkable community. So I can reach out and see if he's willing to do another one of these sessions with us where he answers
that would be
similar
excellent, yeah.
questions. I think he'd be excited about that. And then I know Matthew Hickey was talking to us about, I think his Bream Associates was another one he was like really excited about. So that's somebody I could reach out to and see if they want to do one with us. I think the more information we have, the more we'll see the similarities and differences between these different organizations.
Especially as long as we do it now. Yeah.
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 Well, thanks, Catherine.
Yeah.
Shaquille,
Oh,
good
this
to
is
see you.
excellent. This is very nice.
Yeah.
Catherine, when Patty shares that information with you, can you just drop it on the drive too?
Yes. Yeah. I'll see if I can download copies and put them in there. Actually, so Shaquille, this has been recording through our whole like post conversation. Is there any way?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't care. Can you cut
No,
it?
I can. That's what I was going to ask you guys. If you want me to separate out the actual discussion and the post conversation, I can create both of them separately. So if you want,
Okay.
I can create.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.